Hello everyone, my name is Steven and welcome back to Storytime. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories. Want me to turn the light off? Okay. So a bit of background information. I have an issue with lights being on when nobody is in the room, and if someone forgets, I politely remind them to turn it off next time. Now here's where the issue comes in. There's a bathroom in our house that we refer to as the children's bathroom because only my siblings and I use the toilet in there. The problem with this is that the light switch is on the outside of the bathroom by the door. My sister has a habit of almost never turning off the light after she has used the bathroom. She usually uses the excuse of, "Oh, I forgot about it," and points out that the switch is on the outside. However, it irritates me when she still doesn't turn it off when I point it out. Although she does this to almost every room in the house, the bathroom is the most frequently forgotten. Now here's where the malicious compliance comes in. We were in my parents' bedroom playing with one of our cats when I decided I'd had enough and was going to my room. As I was exiting the room, I thought about the fact that she usually forgets to turn the light off, so even though the light is inside the room, I threw over my shoulder, "Don't forget to turn the light off when you're done." Of course, my sister, being the snarky person she is, replied, "No, you turn off the light." And in that moment, I saw my chance. And even though I was almost in my room at this point, I wouldn't let this chance for payback to slip through my fingers. "Okay," I responded as I turned on my heels and marched over to the room and turned the light off with a satisfying click. As I walked away, I could hear her whine, "Hey!" The sound of victory. I know to most people it isn't that impressive, but to me, it's the sweetest victory yet. Edit 1. Because people seem to think that it's only me, I would like to inform you that I'm not the only one asking my sister to turn off the light, as the rest of my family also asks my sister to turn off the lights. I didn't mention this originally because I didn't think it was that relevant to the story, but then a lot of people seem to think it is, so here you go. I would also like to mention that like everyone else, I do have a life outside of a bathroom light. It seems like everyone assumes that I'm waiting right outside of the door every second of the day, waiting to ask my sister to turn it off. This was meant to be a story of a little bit of lighthearted fun between two sisters that a bunch of you have completely blown out of proportion. Edit 2. Lord, I didn't realize that so many people would be so caught up on the first paragraph that they would completely ignore the second paragraph and what this post is about. And for those who are like, "Wow, well done for saving," insert small amount of money here, it's not about the money. It's about the environment and a habit that has been drilled into my head for so many years, so frequently that I struggle to get rid of it. Sorry to all the people out there that don't understand how difficult it is to stop doing something that you've been told you don't need to do anymore, but have had it told to you so many times that you can't escape it. I understand OP's position here because, as somebody that does have to pay bills, I also understand the desire of turning the light off, and also I just prefer things to be generally darker most of the time, but that's just me. In this situation, if you were OP, how would you handle the situation? Let me know what you would do or say in the comments below. You want me to unmute my mic? Okay. Our school does online classes now, and I had a double English period, and my English teacher really likes class participation. Since the beginning of online classes, he's told us to unmute all our mics. Today I had lunch a little later than normal, so I had to eat during class, so naturally I muted myself because I'd be making a lot of munching and spoon hitting bowl sounds. And then my teacher calls me out, jokingly of course, and I unmute and tell him I'm eating and I don't want to disturb the lesson. He says it doesn't matter, forces me to unmute my mic. So I decide to eat my lunch as loud as is humanly possible. Keep in mind, we have a class Instagram chat, and my classmates told me to do it, so I wasn't disturbing their learning. And after a couple of seconds of incessant munching and spoon-hitting bowl sounds, he relents and tells me to mute myself please, and that I've won. I feel like if I was a teacher, I would rather have the students mute all their microphones rather than unmute. I feel like it would end up being more distracting having all the sounds come in. You are not to leave this room, no matter what. So, this happened when I was in 4th grade. I tell this story often when asked about messed up stories, and my mom still tells it as well. I was a bit of a class clown. As such, the teacher, let's call her Miss Meanie, she was mean to me because I was a handful, and she apparently didn't know how to handle hyper children. This was in the 90s, and one of my previous teachers told my mother I should be on Ritalin, to give you an idea of me as a kid. Anyway, I was always joking in class and distracting others. I was able to do my work, but I admit I know looking back that I was a handful. So the discipline at my school was to put the kids outside the classroom. It was a private school, from K to 12, so you could go from kindergarten to 12th grade. When put out in the hall, we were on a hall sharing 4th to 8th graders, and the adjacent hall, joined by a hallway with a dark storage room, was 9 to 12. So I saw kids of all ages. Me, being the sociable little monster I was, would make conversation with them, being friendly. They would always talk, especially the older kids. Older guys thought it was funny I was in trouble. I guess older girls thought it was endearing or funny. I don't know, but people always talked and even stood around to talk longer rather than passing by awkwardly. The teacher heard me and scolded me many times. She eventually moved me to that joined hallway with the storage room in it. It was ceiling to walls with boxes, but she moved some out and put a desk in there. It didn't have but one functioning light, blocked slightly by the boxes, so it was dark, barely visible to write on my desk with. Once again, being sociable, I just stood in the hall and talked to passerby kids and older kids. Who was going to see me? It's at the end of the hall, no teachers came. Well, Mrs. Meanie caught wind and came back there to scold me. She gripped my arm hard enough to leave a red handprint, and pulled me into the back room with gritted teeth. She leaned in an inch from my face and said with the very same gritted teeth, half yelling, "You are not to leave this chair," after pushing me down into it. "No matter what, no matter who you see, you are not to leave this chair again until I come and get you. You are to remain here and do your work, or we will be taking this to the principal and calling your parents." Me, scared at that thought, could not help it since my brain is slower moving than my mouth. What if there's a fire? Joking, of course. Through the same gritted teeth, "Even if there is a fire, you stay in the seat until I say so." So I did. Hours passed and it's nearly lunchtime. I'm starving. I never ate breakfast as a kid, so I'm staring down the dimly lit clock time like it might suddenly start doing backflips. I hear the fire alarm go off. We have a drill twice a month, so I wasn't shocked. I started to get up, as I know I was supposed to no matter what, but then remembered Mrs. Meanie gritting her teeth at me. Better do what she says, I thought, smiling, thinking it will be funny to see her reaction, knowing it was only a drill. I saw the kids and teens all filing out. Remember how I said it was literally 8 grades worth of students? Picture 12 or so classrooms, each with up to 30 or 40 students in them, walking down 2 narrow hallways, like a herd of chihuahuas through a coffee straw. So, orderly, even in a straight line, is not happening. I see them all taper out and wonder where she is. I see them all gone and now it's empty. Only the flashing light from the hallway alarm and the ringing siren. I sit there thinking, oh man, when I see her face, this is going to be amazing. Giddy with excitement at the thought of it. Then I smelled smoke. 2 fire drills a month, for 9 months a year for my entire life it felt like. And this time, I smell smoke. Then I see smoke. I'm upstairs at the back of a dark hallway, in an empty 2-story, large school building. We had no windows in my school also for some reason. Looking back, I'm sure this breaks some sort of fire code now. Okay. I might have messed up. I'm going to go to the front. I started tearing up and getting watery-eyed, thinking, I may have just committed suicide out of pettiness. When I hear stomping, loud and clear, she runs down the hallway, red-faced, teary-eyed, and out of breath and grabs me, and for the first time, Mrs. Meanie is nice to me. She's hugging me and crying, rambling faster than I can keep up with. Thank God, thank God, thank God, head count, didn't see you, panicked, messed up so bad, so sorry, please forgive me. As she's carrying me down the hall, I come out, all the kids are in the parking lot and the fire trucks. Never saw those in action. Neat. They come out with several extinguishers. There was a small fire in the kitchen when making lunch. Thankfully, it was contained to a small area, did no real damage, only made a ton of smoke and was put out quickly by the firefighters. The principal wanted to know why I was there, and I told him truthfully, I was told not to come out, even if there was a fire. This wasn't a jab at Mrs. Meany. Our principal was cold as ice and made you tell the truth. At my school, they actually paddled you with a wooden paddle with holes in it. Very old school type of punishment, even for the 90s. Irrelevant, but these horrors run deep. That thing whistled when swung and hurt. The principal had someone watch our class and I'm assuming gave her an earful in her office for nearly rest of the day. My mother was called, they all convened in the office, and once again, I'm assuming words were said. My mother was livid and said she paid too much money per month to have me locked in a closet. Even if I was being a little brat, there is better ways to punish me. Like, say, call her first thing and let her put the fear in me, which she did after this. I did not get off scot-free from her. As relieved as she was I wasn't dead, she knows all of this stuff was my fault in the end, and my stupidity could have gotten me killed. Mrs. Meany was a lot nicer to me then, a lot more patient, and I was less of a little brat. I was still the class clown, but within reason, and never tried to distract kids again. She was a lot nicer and more understanding and tried to reach kids rather than scream and scold at first glance. I had a lot of bad times at that school and left only a year later due to a particularly bad incident in which, once again, my mother was present. This time, the teacher was fired for gross negligence that nearly hospitalized me. This time, I was not being a brat. Another story for another time though. Not malicious compliance on my part in that one. Listen, if I'm OP, I see smoke, I'm getting out of there. And also, if I was OP's parent, I am gonna be extra livid as his mother was. I sure hope Mrs. Meany felt lucky that she still had a job after that. That whole situation could have been elevated a lot more against the entire school as a whole. Honking at a student driver? Eat this! Background. I'm from Germany and we have quite a thorough driving training over here. Basic training plus 12 mandatory lessons for defined conditions, 4 times Autobahn, 5 times country road, 3 times night. Lessons must be taken from a professional, licensed driving instructor. Learner cars are clearly labeled as such. Fahrschule, driving school. Cast, OP equals OP, instructor equals cool driving instructor, douche equals douchebag. Setting, OP takes a driving lesson in a clearly labeled learner car. Instructor wants to train OP's reverse into a very tight parking space skill in a narrow street of a residential area with cars parking on both sides of the road and merely enough space for one car to drive along. No two-way traffic possible, let alone passing by. This is a common situation in that city and therefore the reason why it needs to be trained. OP has a little trouble. Needs to check all sides as well as the cars parking on the other side of the road, and is very focused on the task. Meanwhile, douche approaches in his car. OP fails to maneuver that giant, actually tiny in US scale, car into the tiny space 2 times in a row, which triggers douche to start honking like fury. OP looks at instructor. What the heck did I do wrong? Instructor looks at OP. Keep calm, no problem. Turn off the engine and turn on the emergency blinkers. We are blocking the road, shouldn't I get along? Nope. Turn off the engine and turn on the emergency blinkers. You'll see why. OP turns off the engine and turns on the emergency blinkers. Get out and wait for me. OP gets out and waits for instructor. Instructor comes over to my side. Follow me and do the same as me. Instructor slowly, theatrically walks around the car and carefully inspects every detail. Takes special care for the rear side, checks if there's enough space between our car and the parked cars, and even takes the time to look under the car. OP tries to do something similar. All this takes a whole minute if not more. Instructor shakes his head, looks at OP, and actorly shrugs his shoulders. Follow me. Instructor walks over to douche and signs him to lower the window. OP follows instructor. Douche turns down the window with a facial expression of total confusion. Sir, is there anything wrong with our car? We inspected it carefully, but we cannot find any problem. What? Instructor repeats. Is there anything wrong with our car? We inspected it, but there seems to be no problem. Douche angry. Why the freak do you think there should be a problem? Instructor in perfect law speak. Sir, according to section 16.1 STVO, road traffic regulations, you are only allowed to use acoustic warning signs if you see an imminent hazard for yourself or others. Since you yourself are most probably not in a hazard while waiting for another car to go, I must assume that either our car itself or our maneuvering constitutes an imminent hazard. Therefore, I'd like to know what the problem is. I'm in a hurry. Oh, that's all? No imminent hazard for yourself or others? Freak no. Instructor theatrically making a thinking face and playing dumb. So you actually used the acoustic warning sign although there was no imminent hazard for yourself or others? Heck yeah, get along! I see. Just a friendly reminder. According to section 16.1 STVO, you are only allowed to use acoustic warning signs if you see an imminent hazard for yourself or others. A violation of section 16.1 STVO can be punished with a €5 fine to €10 if other people are harassed by your action. Meanwhile, a third car approaches the scenery and is blocked by us. Oh, I see there's another car waiting. I don't want that guy to wait longer than necessary. Please keep that aforementioned in mind. I am very sorry that you had to wait such a long time now. If I didn't have to inspect the car, then we all would have been gone a long time ago. Thank you very much, drive safe, and have a good day. OP, let's go. Instructor and OP enter the car. OP turns on the engine. Instructor initiates a high five and makes sure it can be seen by Douche. Finally, we cancel the parking attempt and drive along very peacefully, with exactly 30 kilometers an hour, of course, as limited for that area. I can just see myself being so confused being herded along by OP just to watch them absolutely demolish this guy's patience. Beautiful execution by the instructor. But with that, that's all the stories we have for today. So what I want to know from you guys is which of these stories that I read today are your personal favorite and why? Let me know why in the comments below. And of course, thank you all so much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and turn the notification bell on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.